Welcome to Real Leadership, the podcast that spotlights leaders who make, move, and process things in the real economy. Together we go to the heart of leadership to discover the strategies and hard-earned lessons from pragmatic, gutsy leaders who operate in a world that is more steak than it is sizzle. I'm your host, Jim Weaver, Chief Executive Officer of the Owner Group, where we believe that real leadership matters. Let's go. Understanding your labor market is crucial for successful recruitment. Onin Staffing's Recruitment Strategy Guide provides insights specific to your geographic location and the positions you're hiring for. Our Recruitment Strategy Guide delivers a clear snapshot of your labor market and actionable intel to tackle market-specific challenges. With Onin's expertise, we help you navigate and win in your competitive landscape. Empower your recruiting process with the insights you need. Learn more about Onin's Recruitment Strategy Guide at oninstaffing.com/strategy. Today, we're joined by Maximiliano Navarro III, President of Operational Technologies Corporation, known as OpTech. Based in San Antonio, Texas, OpTech is a minority-owned enterprise that provides supply chain management, warehousing and distribution services in the auto sector, as well as biotechnology and personnel research services for the DoD, telecommunications, and the biotechnology industries. Max graduated in 2018 from Baruch College in NYC with a Bachelor of Business Administration and a focus on entrepreneurship. During his time at college, Max showed some real entrepreneurial promise, winning the CUNY Startups competition and working as a real estate agent for several different ventures. After graduation, Max gained experience acquiring industrial properties at Marcus and Millchap, and then last year, he was tapped as president of his family's business, OpTech. In addition to his business pursuits, Maximiliano is actively involved with the Latino Business Action Network and has recently graduated from their business scaling program at Stanford University. Welcome, Max.
Thank you very much, Jim. What an intro.
It's good to have you. It's been a good ride. It's been a relatively short ride, but you've covered a lot of ground. I'm excited to dig in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's start with OpTech. What do you do for a living over there?
So at OpTech, it was founded by my grandfather in 1986. So we're about going on 38 years now, and here we actually started in psychometric testing. My grandfather and his co-founder, Dr. Wayne Shore, he was a colonel and an officer in the Air Force, and we did ASVAB testing, so vocational testing for the Air Force, and we still do that today. It's a much smaller part of our business today, but we have maintained a contract with the Air Force since the start of our business, and that's what kickstarted it. In the early 1990s was when we entered the telecommunications sector with it used to be SBC, but now AT&T. And we also were doing work in Mexico. We had about 15 maquiladoras down there, and that was with Telmex. In about early 2000s was when my grandfather was approached by Henry Cisneros, Dr. Henry Cisneros. He was a former mayor here in San Antonio, and at that time, Toyota was looking at opening a new plant here in the United States for the Tundra and Tacoma. And at that time, they were considering San Antonio. And it's kind of a funny story that there was a Japanese woman that was actually the first cousin of Mrs. Toyota. And Dr. Henry Cisneros came to my grandfather and said, "Hey, you got to put this lady on your payroll." And he said, "Well, at the time, they were good friends, and he trusted him a lot and said, 'All right, I'll do it,' without kind of many questions." Well, fast forward, Ms. Shirani was actually the reason that Toyota chose San Antonio, amongst a lot of other people, of course, here in San Antonio, but she was a huge proponent and a huge advocate for San Antonio.
Yeah.
And at that time...
It's a great city.
It's a beautiful city.
Love San Antonio.
It's a wonderful, wonderful city. And at that time, that's when Toyota decided to come to San Antonio. And actually, that's when we started our business with Toyota, which is going on 20 years. They've been a wonderful, wonderful a partner to us. And actually now, which we can get into later, are looking at the second generation of these suppliers that they're here in San Antonio.
What do you do specifically for Toyota?
So for Toyota, we do assembly, sequencing, line side support. So we actually put together the doors for the Tundra and Sequoia now. The instrument panel, so all of the the screens, the wheel, and everything that goes kind of in the instrument panel, the front and rear bumper, as well as the glass. We install the glass for the front windshield as well as the back windshield as well. So we've got we touch about 3,200 parts throughout any given time through our about 400,000 square feet or so in Toyota here in Texas, and anywhere from 900 to 1,000 employees or so.
No kidding.
Struggling with high turnover and burnout? Own and Flex addresses these challenges head on, offering a scalable solution with vetted part-time talent to fill staffing gaps. Own and Flex combats worker shortages and ensures your core team isn't overburdened, reducing turnover and enhancing job satisfaction. Empower your workforce and boost your success with Own and Flex. Visit ownandflex.com to learn more.
So your grandfather started the business 38 years. That's a lot longer than most businesses are around. What do you attribute that longevity to?
I think his ability to adapt. He is phenomenal at coming up with new business ventures, as well as just keeping and maintaining relationships. That's been a big thing that I've learned from him is his ability to adapt in any situation and think outside the box when it comes to business. Just because you're not doing it does not mean that you can't start doing it. And as well as relationships are extremely important. Going out, meeting people, going out and talking with people, also giving back to the community, never forgetting where you're from. That's a big one. My grandfather came from a very poor side of San Antonio called the West Side, and he always remembers to give back to his community. He's involved within the community as well as our company. So that those are some core values that I've definitely taken from him, and the reason why I think he's been able to grow the company for 38 years and kind of pass it on to the next generation is his real ability to maintain those relationships, but also give those relationships and introduce to the next generation, which is sometimes hard to do.
Yeah. And you kind of grew up in the business, right? We didn't talk about it in the intro, but you've grown up in it.
I mean, it's funny because everyone around here calls me Little Max, I don't mind at all, but that's just what I've been called forever because I would be coming as, ever since I was born, the company was here. I remember walking in and out of the offices and everyone here has been here for 30 years or more, a lot of people. So it's a very interesting kind of business to come in at, as when people have known you since you were in diapers.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe a couple changed diapers. I don't know.
Maybe a couple, yeah.
And you had mentioned off mic that you were able to travel to Japan at like age 12. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So that was my first time going to Japan, and I've been going back ever since about 12 years old. The thing with Japanese companies is that I've learned, and I also studied abroad in Japan in college. But the thing that I've learned is that they are very long-term oriented. And they like to partner with families. They feel comfortable with partnering with families because a lot of Japanese companies are still majority owned by families. And that's kind of
interesting.
The succession planning, but also that's the bond. That's the level of bond when you get into business with somebody of a Japanese company in particular. You form a bond, not only just business, but also with the wives, with the children, and it's a real family effort, which can prove difficult sometimes, but can also be really rewarding as well.
Yeah. How has that experience of being able to travel over there and kind of coming up in this culture, how has that shaped you, do you think?
I think it's shaped me because, one of the things that has always stuck with me is continuing to, create a legacy and not only for me, but the family as well is really important. But also, understand, I think really is being kind of business oriented. It's helped me continue to think, about things in a business way. I guess it sounds kind of weird. I haven't been asked that question before, but I'd say that, being involved in such a young age and seeing kind of businesses going to even galas, watching my grandfather speak at certain conferences or whatever it might be, has probably subconsciously impacted me to always think about the future and what it holds and what are the possibilities out there. So I think it's helped me with the vision, extrapolating it out further rather than looking at the details and such and so forth. I think one of my strengths is certainly working kind of on the business rather than working in the business. And I think that's important. You need both types of people in a company that as well. If you're just working in the business, then it's sometimes harder to grow. It's sometimes harder to think long term and think, hey, what can we do next? Or how can we improve? Or strategic planning is really important. But if you're just doing that, then nothing also gets done in the business.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I think that taking that long view, the way the Japanese do, is something that is a lot more rare here in the U.S., especially amongst publicly traded companies. We're the same way. We're thinking decades out, but that is very rare. Now, Toyota does a really good job of investing in and like mentoring, cultivating their supplier base, right? Based on years of exposure to them, how would you, from your perspective, what are kind of the key tenets to the Toyota way? People talk about the Toyota way, Kaizen, and all that stuff. What are the key tenets of that in your mind?
Yeah, so there's a few, and I think one of the big ones that I learned right off the bat was Genchi Genbutsu, and that means go and see. And you can apply this to a lot of different things in life. And one of the things was, I went and saw when I was 12 years old, and that impacted me from a very young age. And as well as on the shop floor, going down, talking to team members, understanding what their challenges are, how can we help them, and taking a approach where you're hands-on is extremely important. The other one is Kaizen. I think a lot of people in the manufacturing world understand that, but when you start learning it from a young age, you really embody it, where you just got to continuously try to get better. Kaizen. You really do have to look at every single part of your business and continue to see where it is that you can continue to improve.
Yeah. What elements of the Toyota way do you think are harder to translate to an American context? Is there difficulty in translation? Or is it all map over pretty easily? What are your thoughts on that?
I'd say the most difficult one is probably that long-term partnership type of lens that looking through. As an OEM, as Toyota, they can easily kind of influence and do things the way they want to and kind of, top-down approach. But what they have done really well is become a partner, and they have tried to help you succeed. They're not just only looking at the bottom line. They are trying to help you grow. They're trying, because it's a win-win. If their suppliers are strong, then so are they. And they've really, really embodied that culture. And it was really interesting to go to Japan to see that as well. Where they support and they make sure that their suppliers are continuously learning, continuously growing, and the messaging is very consistent across the board, where you can most likely probably ask any Toyota supplier and they'll tell you, man, Toyota, they do a great job with their suppliers. I mean, they really support you, and they're always in contact with you for anything you need, or questions you may have. They're there to work with you.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah.
Recruiting top talent is tough. Onan Staffing focuses on people, offering exceptional benefits to attract and retain dedicated workers. Partner with us for flexible, data-driven solutions. Visit onanstaffing.com to learn more.
So you just transitioned to the president role just 7 months ago, right?
Yes, sir.
How has that been?
It's been wonderful, I will say.
Yeah.
It's been challenging, though. It has been. I'm 28 years old. I'm a young leader, and there's a lot of pros that come with that, but there's also a lot of challenges or maybe misconceptions. So yeah, I mean, I think that being a young leader can be difficult. But what I've really tried to keep at the forefront of my mind is 5 levels of respect. And 5 levels of respect are at the bottom is your position, your title, president. Okay. That only holds so much weight. And it's the very bottom of the pyramid. Then is permission, which is your relationships. Do people want to follow you? Do people actually, want to interact with you and believe in what you're saying? The third is production results. People follow you because of what you've done in the organization. The third is people development. People follow you because of what you've done for them. And then the last is the pinnacle is well, people follow you because of what you are, who you are, and what you represent as a person. So, trying to lead through action, through example, is really important for me, where, lack of experience or, being a young individual in a leadership role can have some, challenges that go with it. But when you're leading from trying to lead where, hey, I want people to follow me not because of my title, not because of, I'm the grandson of the founder or anything like that.
Yeah.
I want people to follow me because they want to, because they know the type of person I am. They know what type of company that this is. And also, everyone at some point is kind of wants to know what's the benefit to them and their families. I think that is I think that's the role of a company at the end of the day, is to provide jobs, to provide upward mobility for those who maybe haven't had it or whatever that may be. So it's a big responsibility to be a leader, and I don't take it lightly. But it's been wonderful. The 7 months I've been here. But again, I feel like I've been here my entire life at the same time. So it feels like home. It's obviously a new role that comes with its challenges, but kind of taking that Kaizen mentality of, continuously learning, continuously growing is very important to always keep in the forefront of your mind.
Yes, yes.
Land top technical and professional talent with Focus. Focus specializes in direct hire and contract placements, connecting you to exceptional candidates in IT, engineering, management, and more. Elevate your team with Focus. Visit getinfocus.com.
What do you think your family has done right to set this up, this transition? What do you think were the right moves? I mean, in retrospect, I'm sure 5 years from now, you'll have some insight as to what you might do differently, but
sure.
Certainly some things that you've done right, they're probably popping out at you.
Yeah, I think always talking about the business, always kind of being transparent in terms of what's going on. And, I think my grandfather's done a good job of kind of making the point of, hey, this like I just said, a company is here to support people. You have a big responsibility. And I think what he did really well is certainly hire those and the staff, they've been here for a long time and help them understand the vision, setting that direction on why this is important, transition. He's not going to be around forever, and why it's important to have leadership that continues with the same direction. Not after he's gone, where then you kind of come in, but while he's still here and able to deliver that message. So I think he's done a good job, certainly at surrounding himself with very smart people, advisors as well, and creating that atmosphere where, an atmosphere where it's easy to succeed.
Yeah, yeah. Have you guys, you mentioned hiring well, and you have psychometric testing roots. Have you been able to really integrate that into your hiring and development framework for your company?
Yes and no. I don't think it's a every hire type of assessment or something like that. But I will say, actually, my mentor at Stanford, his name is Raj Telda, and he's a big proponent on testing. So I actually we had him come down, and he actually has a podcast as well, the Raj and Drew show. But he came down and tested a lot of our leadership for what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and I think it's really important for everyone to kind of know, hey, what are you good at, what are you not good at, where are your strengths and weaknesses. That way we can fill in the gaps. We don't want everyone that's good at sales or good at talking,
right.
But we need different types of people for different types of roles, and certain type of people do really well in certain roles. So, I think that we have used it a little bit, but I think it's something that we want to, like I said, continuously try to improve and continuously try to use as we move forward in our hiring.
I think, in my view, I'm no expert at it, but my experience is people either put too much weight on it or not enough weight. They don't give it enough credit, or they put too much weight on it. People are just infinitely complex, aren't they?
You can't put everyone on a piece of paper. There's no way. Absolutely. And when you take that test, it could be it could be a bad day for you or a really good day.
Yeah. It is a useful. I always kind of look at it like a diamond. If you're inspecting a diamond, right, you're going to look at it from all sorts of different angles, and those tests are just they're a great angle, right? And but there's a lot of different ways you have to look at that jewel to see what you've got there. Cool. Okay. Leaders set the standard in an organization for motivation and energy level. Set the standard across the board, right? But specifically with motivation, energy level, what do you do personally to stay inspired, to stay energetic?
Well, I think exercise is a foundational, aspect to continue to keep those energy levels and consistency, and it helps in so many different ways. So I think, maintaining a consistent, exercise schedule is really important. Also surrounding yourself with others who are better than you, who are doing more than you, kind of keeps you on your toes. And as well as, I listen to a lot of podcasts like yours, and learning from the greats in history. There's a lot of good information where you don't have to reinvent the wheel out there, where you can learn from those that have done it before you. So that's certainly a lot of reading, podcasts, audiobooks. Trying to maintain a routine is extremely important. But I will say I've always had a lot of energy, where to the point where, back in school, I had too much energy, but I think it's trying to channel that in the right way. Exercise certainly helps with, calming everything down, but feeling really good mentally, clarity and everything of that nature.
Finding experienced, vetted aerospace contract workers ready to work with highly specialized skill sets isn't easy. Onan Aerospace can help with a wide pool of the best talent, attracted through our superior benefits. To learn more, visit onanaerospace.com.
What other habits, rituals have you developed? I think that's something that great leaders have in common. They've got good habits. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of habits, like I said, exercise. But another big one is my religion. I'm Christian, and keeping that as well in the back of my mind. Having faith that everything is going to be okay. At the end of the day, really is. It certainly puts you in a different light, or it helps you look at situations that might be stressful or whatever it is. It's like, it helps you kind of just take a step back and look at it from a long-term view where, hey, look, everything's going to be okay. Having faith that, whatever God's plan is, it will happen, and you're going to be okay. So, I think certainly the spiritual aspect, the physical aspect, and is helps tremendously the mental aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't really separate them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, what kind of habits have you developed to go back to that spiritual grounding? It's very easy to kind of come untethered in the throes of the moment or the day, at least in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you reconnect to that perspective?
I think it's, obviously going to church is good, but it's getting involved more so in the church. Again, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who can be there to, give you a little nudge. Hey man, you haven't been on the church, or hey man, you're kind of maybe haven't seen you in a while, or whatever you're doing. So I think that's super important. I'm a firm believer in reading the Bible. Whether or not you believe in it or not, there are tons of good advice, and really wise words spoken in the Bible that can apply to anyone, no matter the what you believe in. So yeah. I do that. I try to read the Bible. Obviously, that you can read much more, and I'm guilty of not reading it as much as I should probably, but. Mm-hmm. That, and then, other habits such as maintaining good sleep. I think we were talking about it offline a little bit. I'm big on listening to podcasts. Andrew Huberman's a great one, where he talks a lot about sleep, talks a lot about how it impacts your health as well, and maintaining that routine is really important. Even if you're going to bed late, still waking up at the same time in the morning is it's better to do that than kind of sleep in and throw off your sleep cycle. So those are kind of some of the things that I do. I think like I keep coming back, it seems like, to the Kaizen, but continuously trying to improve. And I think that's what you're doing I think that's what life's about, is continuing to try to grow and improve. Just be 1% better than you were yesterday.
Yep. Very good. What other podcasts do you like?
Another good one that I really like is Founders. As I was mentioning a little earlier, he talks a lot about history's great founders, but not when it just comes to businesses, but great generals. Even he talks about Jesus as a leader, though, which is a really interesting take on the leadership styles of these individuals and what makes people great at the end of the day. When you hear from anywhere from a fashion designer like Christian Dior, Balenciaga, all the way to Bugatti and Ferrari, and then you hear Napoleon, and you go to the finance world with Charlie Munger. All these individuals have very, very common patterns between them all, and a big one is obsession. It's kind of being obsessed with what you do. I just listened to one about Walt Disney, and he was the same way. Walt Disney is extremely, extremely passionate, where he wouldn't even go to the bathroom until lunch. So,
man.
Yeah, I mean, that's next level. But
the older you get, the harder that becomes.
Yeah,
that's.
Yep.
Oh, that is next level.
Yeah,
that's 1%. That's more than 1%.
Yeah,
next level.
Absolutely.
Sure. What's a good book you read? What's an impactful book?
I'd say an impactful book that I read. Well, one of my favorite books is actually is the story of Nike Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and it's just a great story. It's really easy to read, and it's inspiring as well. He actually has experience with Japanese companies as well, and that's what actually founded Nike. Was actually his didn't go so well with the Japanese company, and that's what made him actually found Nike. But that's a really good book. Of course, I have to throw it in there, but it's very motivating. Is David Goggins, some of his books?
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, he's an animal.
He's an animal, of course. And then another good one that's interesting is 50 Laws of Power by David Green. It's a thick book, and I don't know if I would necessarily adapt all of these laws of power, but it kind of can even teach you maybe what you should look out for as well. When you in business, I think it's important to kind of keep a skeptic's mind as well. But those are some good books that I've read recently.
What have you changed your mind on in the last couple of years? You're coming into your own in a lot of ways, professionally. Anything that you've got a new perspective on now?
Bitcoin? No, I'm just kidding.
I flip-flopped about 3 times.
I know. I go back and forth every other week on that. I think a big thing that I changed my stance on has been probably leadership style in a little bit of a way. Coming from commercial real estate and coming from kind of the founder's mentality, you're your own boss in a way, and you're very you don't need to ask for anyone's opinion. You don't need to sign off on anything, and it's usually just you doing it. And I think coming into this role, I've certainly changed my mind on, you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, take others with you. So that approach to leadership, where be a team player, is really important. I always wondered, man, all these companies, they always want you to be a team player. Well, I know why. It's extremely, extremely important to work well with the team, and if you have a good team, then that take the egos out of it, and you can really do some amazing things. I'm reading a book right now about culture. The author escapes me right now, but essentially he surveyed CEOs, MBA students, and then kindergartners. And he said, hey, can you, each of you guys, you have 20 minutes to build the tallest structure with these popsicle sticks. And he gave them to the CEOs, gave it to the MBA students, and he gave it to the kindergartners. Well, who ended up winning by a wide margin was the kindergartners. They had an average of 30 inches, where the MBAs were, I think, at 21 inches high, and the CEOs were at 26 or something like that. And that's because kindergartners work together really well. So he was saying basically the CEOs and MBA students, they had a plan, they sounded really good, and they had all these strategic vision. They wrote it out. This is how we're going to do the best structure, and this is how it's going to work, and all this stuff, right? But you have a little bit of who's going to be the leader, who's going to do this, kindergartners, they got straight to work. They didn't even talk. And they just started to, oh no, maybe this way. Oh, try it this way. And they had very minimal conversation versus nah, or yes, or maybe, and they got straight to work. And every single time they had the tallest structure, which is, I think, a good lesson for us, is to, sometimes having a child's mind in a way is not a bad thing, And that's where I think being a young leader is something to take into account, is your enthusiasm. Coming in is trying not to let things get to you, and maintaining that high level of enthusiasm and delusion in a way where, man, this is where we can go. I tell the folks around here, and it's a very audacious goal, but it's something that I learned. It's called a big audacious, but there's another word that they've used, a big audacious hairy goal. It's called a BHAG. And my BHAG for OpTech is to become a $1 billion company in 10 years. So you have to set the direction, you have to set the vision, and when you have that big of a goal, your mindset changes. You start focusing on these small little things or small little problems, and you start thinking bigger.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, that's a good landing right there.
Great.
Max, it's been fantastic. We're gonna enjoy watching your career. How can folks find out more about OpTech and connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to www.otcorp.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Max Navarro, Instagram, Maximiliano.Navarro.
We'll put those in the show notes as well.
Great.
Yeah.
And if you're ever in San Antonio, please feel free to reach out. My email, happy to share it. And you can find it on our website, as well as my phone number. So always open to discuss partnerships, long-term partnerships. And I appreciate you, Jim, for having me on the show. It's an honor. And I can't wait to see some more guests that you have on the show, and actually meet you in person as well.
That sounds great. Okay.
Wonderful.
Everyone, until next time, keep it real.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. This podcast was powered by Onin, a family of staffing companies providing real staffing solutions to manufacturing, logistics, and food processing companies across the United States of America. To get in touch or learn more about partnering with an Onin Group company, visit us at www.oningroup.com. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.